Hi. Welcome to Luna Listens to Books channel. If you like my channel, please like and subscribe. Now the story begins. My daughter accidentally stained my husband's true love's dress and was thrown off the freeway by him. The daughter was crushed to death by a speeding van in foggy weather, her young body like a shattered building block. Later, Charles breaks into his ex and daughter's room and pulls them off the balcony and jumps off. He left a suicide note. Emily, Daddy loves you and has avenged you with his own hands. My daughter died, and her death was tragic. The last phone call came on the 10th day, was busy with a project at the company, completely overwhelmed. I was waiting for the bonus to be released so I could take the whole family for a trip, still remember her voice on the phone, soft like a kitten's meow. Mom, I scored 100%, top of my class, can you come home early? Though it was a moment of joy, there was a tinge of grievance in her voice. However, my husband Charles's angry words snapped me to attention. You have the nerve to take credit for this, weren't you just 7th in the class last time? How did you jump to the first? You must have cheated on the test. How will you manage when you grow up with such vanity? I don't want a lying daughter like you. Emily frantically tried to explain, I've been working hard and studying all the time after class. But before she could finish, Charles hung up the phone with a slap. My expression darkened instantly. Why, daughter was not lying, had once promised her that if she ranked first, I would take her to the north to see the snow. She had been waiting for a long time. As I hurried to finish my work and rush home, it wasn't my daughter's lovely smiling face that I was greeted with. Instead, I was summoned to the hospital's morgue. Inside the cold morgue, my legs gave way, and I felt as though all strength was drained from my body. This morning, before parting, Emily had her hair in a ponytail, bouncing around waiting for me to return. Now, her body lay indistinguishably mangled, quietly resting, the extent of her suffering before death unknown. Time seemed to pause as I stared wide-eyed, clutching her cold little hand, only to feel hot tears streaming down my cheeks, each drop heavily hitting the floor. Seeing the doctor cover my daughter with a white sheet, I staggered against the wall outside, disoriented. After a while, I regained some composure. Shaking, I pulled out my phone to call Charles. About half an hour later, he finally answered. Amidst a loud background noise, Charles barked, Did you deal with Emily? Did she complain to you again? Without discipline, she'd get too arrogant, always bullying Michelle because she's a few months older. She really needed a lesson. Michelle was a schoolmate 1 year junior to Emily and also the daughter of Charles's first love, Faith McDonald. Not long after graduating from high school, Faith had married and moved far away. It had seemed that their paths would never cross again. Yet by sheer chance at the train station, she hailed Charles's taxi. Subsequently, she found various pretexts for Charles to drive Michelle to dance classes and to take weekend road trips to various tourist spots. I tried to intervene but was silenced with a retort, This is my job. If you treat every client as an enemy, how will I make a living? Petty women don't live long, you should be careful. Every weekend Emily, burdened with a heavy backpack, traveled alone for over 2 hours on the subway to and from her tutoring classes, urged him to pay more attention to our daughter, but he retorted angrily, Emily isn't a delicate princess, why pamper her? Kids need to toughen up to become sensible. Charles always believed in teaching his daughter the value of hardship, yet he excessively doted on his first love's daughter, rushing her to the hospital for even minor injuries, fearful that any delay might leave her with a scar. But now, with his daughter barely cold in the morgue, he continued to frolic with Faith and her daughter, as close as if they were his own family. A hoarse voice filled with fury, I roared over the phone, I don't care where you are, come back immediately. Why did you abandon Emily on the highway midway? Don't you realize she's always been insecure, sensitive, and afraid of being abandoned? Do you think the whole world should revolve around you? Heather, isn't our daughter the one who keeps threatening to end her life? Well, tell her, she's so determined, then go jump off a building now. Does she have the guts? If she dies, it saves me years of trouble raising a child. Before I could finish my sentence, there was only a beep in the receiver of my cell phone. Charles hung up on me. And no matter how many subsequent calls he made, there was only an emotionless mechanical tone refusing to answer. My heart completely died at that moment. Even the neighborhood janitor would see me coming back alone and ask, Where's Emily? Did you eat? But as the child's own father, who has had no contact for a day, he doesn't care in the least about his daughter's situation, and uses such vicious language to humiliate her and satirize her as a way of propping up what little authority he has. At first I just thought Charles was being facetious and rushed up to deliver the favor in a panic in order to make a name for himself in front of his first love. They are so warm to other people's children that they are afraid of being hungry or thirsty, and they hold them in the palm of their hands for fear of dropping them. The daughter's body was run over by a car and torn apart, and no complete remains were ever found. 102 trucks per hour on the highway, yeah. Charles' selfishness and thin-skinnedness is the devil's hand that pushed his daughter to her death. Every cell of my body screamed in agony, like it was being hammered into the flesh with a nail. But how can this pain in my heart compare to the 1,000th part of Emily's passing? But I can't fall at this moment, the truth hasn't come out yet, and the guilty haven't been made to pay for their sins in blood. I went to the police station and checked the surveillance of the highway service area where Charles dropped Emily off. When the little black sedan appeared within the frame, I instantly recognized it as Charles' car. Coming to a stop, the car's path curved around and nearly hit a flower bed across the street, presumably because someone was grabbing the wheel. The car hadn't even come to a stop when the door was opened, leaving half of Emily's body exposed, one hand tugging at the seat, red in the face. I saw her crying, pleading with cries. But after the final half-minute of stalemate, she was kicked in the chest, the dark footprints just landed on the clean white wool sweater. I recognized those leather shoes from the day of Charles' 30th birthday, when Emily pulled my hand and pouted, "Mom, I'll use the pocket money I've saved to buy a present for Dad, okay?" I saw my classmate's dad wearing leather shoes to pick her up from school. So handsome. But Charles never showed up at the school gates, not once. Emily looked incredulously at the person in front of her. She would never have expected that this pair of designer shoes, which she had saved her allowance for half a year to buy, would be the last straw that broke her life. Soon the car started and Emily, in her thin dress, the down coat she had worn out the door in the morning gone, ran after the little car. Longing for her father to have a sudden attack of conscience and stop to pick her up. But she chased them until her legs were weak and her tears were dry, but she didn't wait for a return. Suddenly accompanied by a violent and sharp car honk. I didn't dare look any further, the pain and anger had numbed my body. Charles had already blacked out my phone number, and I then got the junior constable to borrow a cell phone to put the call through. But this time it wasn't Charles who answered the phone. A sweet childish voice appeared on the other end of the line, and I recognized it as Michelle. "Mr. Buckland is driving right now, it's not convenient, yo." I took a deep breath. "It's me, you put Charles on the phone." Her voice was overjoyed, as if she had discovered something extraordinary, and she turned to leap. "It's Mrs. Buckland, I won first prize in the dance competition, and Mr. Buckland rewarded me by taking us to the beach to surf." It was all decided to bring Emily, but she cheated on a test, got criticized by Mr. Buckland, got upset, and spilled coffee all over my mom's dress. Angry, wouldn't you say? She even cried when she was finally kicked out of the car, saying not to leave her behind. She was scared alone, all that big, how can you be less bold than a mouse? I was furious, and all the emotions I had forced myself to suppress exploded at this moment. "Shut your mouth." Just this sentence made Charles immediately fumed and snatched the cell phone. "Emily has no manners, and you, a mom, follow suit and play a scoundrel. I'm telling you, don't yell here, I'll clean you all up when I get back." Haha. I couldn't stop the tears from welling up, my inner strings had been strained to the breaking point. "Fine, when you come back, teach your long-dead daughter a lesson and make her kneel down and kowtow a few times to you. Have you been kicked in the head by a donkey, or have you been caught by the door? All day long you've been looking for death. If it wasn't for my timely education, Emily wouldn't know what kind of a person you've spoiled her to be. If this goes on, she won't even be able to get into high school, and will go out to work when she graduates from junior high school, which saves me a lot of worry. The same children you see others. Michelle, top grades, also looks beautiful, much more understanding." Charles is still spouting off his one-liners, even pulling a stomp on Emily at the last minute to set up Michelle Reed. A great sense of suffocation swept over me and I braced myself for a mouthful of resentment. Emily is dead, killed by your own hands. You killed her, Charles. I snarled out the last word. After a 2-second pause on the other end of the line, Charles' growl came out. Are you out of your mind? If Emily keeps this up, I'll pretend I don't have a daughter, and tell her to get the hell out of here, and never have anything to do with me ever again. It's just unbelievable. At this moment, Faith MacDonald daintily consoled beside her. Mr. Buckland, don't make yourself physically angry. This matter can't be blamed entirely on the child. After all, what kind of mom has what kind of daughter? No matter how hard you try to correct it later on, rivers and mountains are easy to change, and the nature is hard to change it. I didn't want to hear more and hung up voluntarily. Maybe I should have figured out long ago that Charles was no longer worthy of being Emily's dad when the scales in his heart were tipped in favor of his first love's daughter. How can I feel comfortable leaving my daughter in his hands? The police have arrested the driver for the hit-and-run duel, and it will be a while until the court hearing, but Emily's afterlife can't be put off any longer. The immediate cause of her death was undoubtedly a car accident, and I quickly arranged for a cremation as I watched the child being wheeled in and out again at the end of the day with only a dark urn lying in the palm of my hand. Just like when she was a newborn, a tiny one that I could hold all with 2 hands. But Emily now no longer cries and laughs, much less reaches out with both hands, her little milky voice sweetly calling me mommy for a hug. For the past few days, Charles has not asked anything about the kids, he just takes my words for granted. The family was in a state of chaos, with relatives and friends coming from all directions to see Emily off for the last time. How can such a good boy be gone? My mom even cried into tears. After learning the news, was admitted to the hospital. A few days could not eat a grain of rice. All rely on the infusion of nutrient solution hanging. It wasn't until the night before the burial that Charles made a rare unsolicited call. Hey, where's Emily, after all these days? And I've given her time to think about it. Has she thought it through yet or not? And how should she apologize to Faith MacDonald? She's not done with the whole intentionally pouring coffee on it thing. She has to come to the door and apologize in person. For this matter, I've been busy at her house for the past few days to make amends, and the herniated discs are wearing me out. The first words out of your mouth aren't concerned, they're scolding, and that's what a self-righteous good father is all about. Charles, are you incapable of understanding human language? I'm telling you, Emily is dead, she's dead. Tomorrow is her burial time, so if you have any conscience at all, come back and give her one last ride. Charles immediately exploded when he heard this. Don't threaten me with this matter of death. Even if she dies, she has to be plowed out from inside the grave to apologize. My voice was cold to the point of shaking. You don't deserve to be Emily's father. In the end, it was the family-in-laws who stepped in and called Charles back personally. The family hired a Taoist priest and always burned incense. Charles opens the door with a scolding, questioning what all this pandemonium is about, but as he got closer and closer and saw the urn sitting in the center of the hearth, the skepticism on his face was replaced by horror. What is this? I suddenly raised my voice and appeared behind him. Dear good father, how could you not recognize that these are your daughter's ashes? Open your eyes and take a good look. The Taoist priest said that her spirit had refused to leave the house. Have you seen Emily? She wanted to see you before she died. Even after she died and turned into a stern ghost, she wanted to haunt you all the time. She followed you day and night and wouldn't give up. Charles' eyes looked as if they were going to stare out, muttering, how could it be? Obviously a few days ago he was fine. He grew up healthy and didn't get sick. How could he die all of a sudden? You guys are working together to cheat me, aren't you? I took out the death certificate and threw it at his heels, my heart in my mouth. It's written in black and white that Emily ran out of the service area after you kicked in the car door and ran into a drunk driver, and there's no way the car could have stopped in time at that speed. You told her to die, you told her to jump, and now she's really dead. As you wished, satisfied? Charles is struck by lightning and holds Emily's urn in his arms as he cries tears of longing, wishing it was he who had died. Emily, Daddy didn't mean it. I was going to pick you up in a little while. I was wrong. Didn't you want to go see the snow? You're telling me this is all a joke to me. Okay, where are you hiding? Come out, Daddy will take you to see the snow and build a snowman. Don't you still want a burger? Let's go get a burger together, as many as you want, as long as you're willing to come out and meet me. Everyone told him this was a done deal and not to be overly sad, but I saw through the disguise beneath his mask. His tears were not half as valuable. Maybe there was a place in his heart for Emily, but it had long since been larded. Suddenly, as if he had grieved enough, he stood up and asked, "Emily was killed in a collision. How will the insurance side pay for it, have you asked? What's the point of having an insurance company pay out when the person is dead? No amount of money will bring my daughter back." I looked over at Charles warily, the sudden concern foreboding me. Only to see him take out his cell phone and begin to start searching in his browser, but after half a moment, a gleam drilled out of his eyes, which was then suppressed. "I've asked my friends, and in Emily's case, there's at least $500,000 in compensation. Now, since the person is gone irretrievably, we can only look forward." Charles took 2 steps forward and swept me into his arms, patting my shoulder as if to comfort me, and lowered his voice. "Can this money be lent to Michelle, who wants to go to the capital to further her dance training, and later take the path of an art student, and a lot of her teachers have praised her for her talent?" Before he could finish his sentence, I slapped him in the face, leaving a clear slap mark. This commotion instantly drew everyone's eyes over. "Emily's ashes are still in front of you, not even in the ground yet, and you're counting the compensation money she traded her life for. Are you still a human being? You're even worse than an animal. Animals at least know how to feel. You're a cold-blooded and heartless guy." He looked at me incredulously. His wife, who had always been so obedient, had hit someone, and he came on. "I said I was borrowing it. It's not like I'm not going to pay it back, and at least the money will get Michelle a decent future." I felt a sweet fishy taste of blood in my throat, and my voice couldn't contain the trembling. My hand was unsteady as I pointed at him. "No way, don't you dream." At the same time, the cell phone rang once more, and as soon as Charles looked at the caller's name, his eyes turned soft. The conversation was neither too loud nor too quiet, and the sobbing tones were just loud enough for me to hear. "Mr. Buckland, where are you now? Michelle sprained her foot dancing and her ankle is swollen to a turnip. Can you drive over and take her to the hospital?" Charles twisted his head and was about to leave. I pulled his wrist. "Tomorrow morning is Emily's funeral. You're not even going to send Emily on her last journey? The person is already dead. Even if I'm here, I can't do anything. Michelle, if she delays it, it will affect her for the rest of her life. Wasn't it a lifetime that Emily lost?" He only left behind his determined back to leave, regardless of the gossip and obstruction of his relatives and friends around him, and walked recklessly towards it, left the rest of the scene to a few elders and, despite Charles' objections, followed him to the training institute where Michelle was. At this moment, only Faith McDonald and Michelle were left inside the dance studio. Originally, the two of them were still talking and laughing, but after seeing Charles arrive, Michelle immediately squeezed out 2 tears. "Mr. Buckland, you finally came to see me." Michelle jumped into Charles' arms with a bounce, and I looked at her slightly raised foot and glanced at it. "Didn't you say on the phone that you sprained your left foot? How come it's the right foot that's lifted?" Michelle's expression froze for a moment, awkwardly explaining that she had misremembered. "Oh." I dealt with it superficially, then kicked her other good leg so hard that no one noticed, but Michelle ducked behind Charles as soon as she could. That kick landed solidly on Charles's calf and he nearly jumped out of his skin in pain. "Heather, what the hell are you doing here again?" I sneered. "I'm here to heal. Can't you see her leg is already healed?" Michelle's face went green and white and Faith McDonald wiped a tear from her eye. "Mrs. Buckland, I know you're upset that the baby died, but what are you getting mad at Michelle for? It's not like we had anything to do with this. Emily, she didn't take care of her own safety." As soon as her words left my mouth, I pushed Faith McDonald back down. "It's your own fault for not paying attention to the fact that I'm going to hit you." She saw that I was so brash and Charles couldn't protect her, so she stopped pretending and just showed her cards. "To tell you the truth, Mrs. Buckland, Michelle is Charles' daughter too, and now that your child is gone, it makes sense that Charles would be nicer to Michelle." Michelle stood flaunting behind Charles and made faces at me. I felt a wave of heaven and my stomach lurch. "Disgusting, are you guys cheap?" According to Michelle's age, she was exactly 1 month younger than Emily, just as I was taking a break from labor and delivery, and the two somehow got together. But they didn't know that everything that happened today had been recorded by me on my cell phone, and it was a great gift I was going to give to the two of them in the future. Charles also knows that there is a loss in his heart. Do not dare to look at me squarely. It turns out that he is not without a father's love, just that the father's love is all given to another child. After exiting the training facility, I walked straight to the little black car. I can't believe that my daughter Emily would be a child full of lies and no manners. She obviously grew up obedient and understanding, and in the days when I was fretting over the mortgage, she would culp at the sight of a delicate strawberry shortcake on the side of the road and tell me, "Emily doesn't like strawberry shortcake at all." Oh. Even if you are aggrieved, you will bury it in your heart and not let your family worry about it. Thinking back on these bits and pieces of my past life sends ripples through my heart again. I took 3 steps, opened the car door, found the car recorder and took it off and put another one exactly like it on so as not to attract Charles' attention. Although the car recorder could not capture the interior of the car, all the sounds were recorded clearly. When I got home, I got a lawyer to draw up a divorce decree that made it clear that Charles had cheated on his wife and fathered a child, and had misappropriated a large amount of marital property over the years to subsidize Faith McDonald and her daughter, the portion of which belonged to me that I would need to recover in its entirety. By the time he was done with Emily's burial, Charles was slow to show up, and he was probably too busy with that big bill. If I hadn't been working around the clock all these years, going to work right after my maternity leave, he would never have been able to afford the high spending on his monthly salary of a few $1,000s a month, let alone taking Faith McDonald on the trips he and I took. I unlocked the door, turned on the car recorder, and found the footage from the day of the incident. It was accompanied by a short scream, the voice of her daughter. "What are you doing? Why are you pouring coffee up Faith McDonald's skirt?" Emily reached out her hand to organize it, but Michelle pushed it away. "Fuck off, you unlucky bastard." The child's voice is clear and tender, but the words are like the devil from hell. The words are heartbreaking. "This dress was a gift to my mom from Mr. Buckland for $6,808, and if it gets dirty, guess whose head they'll suspect?" My hanging heart sank when I saw this. Emily's head hit the car door with a loud thud. "There's no reason, I just can't stand you. I hate you, you're disgusting for no reason. Obviously we're traveling alone as a family this time, why did we have to bring your little bastard along? Don't you usually get enough beatings at school?" With that, Michelle pinched Emily's arm harder, and a patch of skin turned black and purple in moments. Soon Charles and Faith McDonald, who had returned from buying dinner, got into the car, and the solid coffee stamp immediately drew attention. Without waiting for Emily to say anything, Michelle wickedly turns the tables. Even though Emily opened her mouth to explain, she was silenced by Charles. "You little brat, 3 days without a fight, hurry up and apologize to Faith McDonald." I didn't expect your jealousy to be so strong. It seems like the family is still too spoiled for you. Not only are you a liar, but you also deliberately take revenge. I don't have a daughter as vicious as you. You must starve and freeze before you can learn your lesson. Charles went on with all the hurtful words he could muster, and finally, accompanied by Faith McDonald's cries and Michelle's fanning of the flames, Emily was stripped of her down jacket and left in the service area on such a winter's day. Charles takes it out on his first girlfriend by physically abusing his daughter. All the clues in my head strung together into a complete line, and I instantly figured out what was going on, and tears welled up in my eyes. No wonder Mr. Taoist said that his daughter's spirit refused to leave for a long time because she died in vain. All I want is to clear Emily's name, give everyone the truth, and let the real evildoers be punished. I soon contacted a local news reporter to report that the city's cab drivers were making good use of their authority, tampering with prices, and maliciously inflating fares for out-of-town visitors. Charles, who originally charged only $10 for a ride, insisted on charging per person, one person being $10, so that a car could be raised to $40. He also joined forces with high-priced restaurants, specializing in pulling tourists over to spend money to earn a very high commission, and using the money earned to support his mistresses and transport them for free every day. I reported Charles by name and produced a mountain of evidence. Our small place is not developed, mainly by tourism development. Such a messy thing quickly attracted the attention of the leadership and ordered a rigorous investigation. Charles was not only suspended and criticized, he was also fined and arrested and had to go to the station for half a month. Where can he take this kind of pain? Not much later, Faith MacDonald also reached out to the news reporter I contacted at the time and wiped tears from her eyes as she cried in front of the camera. She and Mr. Buckland were just friends and had been charged the normal rate for each payment with absolutely no favoritism. Instead, Charles and I were emotionally unavailable for a divorce and planned this farce to get a bigger share of the family fortune. While the public business was taken care of, our family's private business was brought to the forefront and attracted a lot of attention on the internet. Coupled with the influence of local TV stations, people from 80 years old to 5 or 6-year-old children are waiting to see how I will respond next. I'm going to play the recording straight from the dance studio that day, where Faith MacDonald herself admitted that Michelle was Charles' biological daughter. This piece of news was like a bomb thrown into the deep sea, splashing numerous splashes. What Faith MacDonald calls a casual friend is but sleeping in the same bed and having babies, and quietly supporting their mother and daughter's entire family for so many years with both of their savings is a bit outrageous. Charles got out of the detention center and called to ask, "Are you crazy and trying to destroy me?" I caressed Emily's effigy, etching her likeness into my heart. "Yes, I went insane the day my daughter died from your abuse. I want you all to pay, and you must suffer as much as she did before you can apologize." It's pouring outside and Charles has no umbrella and no one to pick him up. Drenched in rainwater, stood downstairs clumsily, and the roar from his mouth began to whisper, "I beg you, Heather, for the sake of husband and wife, don't ruin me. You let me kneel down and apologize to you, all right? How can you get rid of your anger? All is pity for me." "But Charles, Emily was so humble even before she died. Did you turn back in consideration of your father-daughter bond?" As soon as this story broke, the online opinion festered and spread, and soon everyone's attention turned from Faith MacDonald to illegitimate daughter Michelle Reed. Soon there were people in the know who showed up to say so. "I've seen this child before. I originally thought she was some kind of golden young lady, eating and wearing all the famous brands, taking tens of thousands of dollars of private dance lessons, but it turned out to be an imposter. It's hilarious. High character and rude, so it's just an illegitimate daughter. The mother is a mistress, with the money used to cheat tourists from all over the world." Michelle Reed also led the bullying within the school. My daughter said herself that if she messed with her, she was beaten up at every turn. Her books were filled with humiliating words, her hair was burned off with a lighter and stabbed with needles, and she eventually went to the school leaders and was dismissed and transferred to another school. This one incident basically confirmed Michelle Reed's behavior. She couldn't withstand the immense public pressure to take a leave of absence, and Faith MacDonald was scorned and dismissed from her organization. Said that such a hurtful person would never be allowed to appear inside the company and was severely humiliated. Lost her financial resources and was subjected to scorn from all over the internet, even started humanizing her, sending razor blades to her home, putting dead rats in front of her house and throwing red paint. Faith MacDonald couldn't sit still and soon signed up for her own short video account and started crying on it. When I went back to my hometown to visit my family not long after I got married, I bumped into Charles at the station, found a restaurant, had a few more drinks, and completely lost consciousness. He was the one who raped me, and I didn't realize at the time that he was married and his wife had just had a baby. It happened. I was at my wits' end and inexperienced. I was 6 months pregnant when I found out, and the baby was at least a life. I couldn't bear to abort it. Michelle grew up without her dad and lacked fatherly love. That's why she committed a momentary misdeed. I've made her correct it and promise not to do it again." Faith MacDonald looked pitiful with her innocent eyes, still stained with tears. She plucks herself off the hook and puts all the blame on Charles. As for the matter of Charles' daughter's death, it was he who kicked Emily very much out of the car, and I had nothing to do with it. Besides, it was Charles' idea alone to ask for Emily's car accident compensation. He wanted to make up for the father-daughter love he owed for so many years. I also advised him not to be calculating, but he did not listen to Charles is really cruel. His daughter are crossroads in the road, but also think of the compensation payment. We, a mother and daughter, are also innocent victims, so please don't pay too much attention to this matter. With this, some more netizens began to sympathize with Faith McDonald's ordeal, calling Charles out for not being a man and doing anything underhanded. Charles, like a lost dog, finds Faith McDonald asking for a statement, after all the years he's put his heart and soul into both of them, even going so far as to kick his own daughter out of the car for them, and in the end taking the blame for everything. Faith McDonald looked at Charles's vicissitudes of a teeny bit older face and instantly removed her disguise. Get out of here and don't let anyone see you show up on my doorstep. The sight of you makes me sick. If it wasn't for you, Michelle and I could be chased by so many people. Charles nestled in and stayed. Anything, Faith McDonald. I can give you all the money. I'll agree to anything you say. Can you let me see my daughter? I can't let her go. A sneer appeared on Faith McDonald's face. With you, you are also worthy of being Michelle's father. I'm just looking at you as a stupid person with a lot of money and still have a few points of use. That's why I'm letting you be the backstabber and give a chance to take care of Michelle. I'll dream about it here. Deathstroke, get out of my way. Michelle also stood out. You look so ugly. How can you give birth to a beautiful daughter like me? Daydreaming, he. But thanks for helping me get rid of Emily. Yo, I've long looked at her with disdain. It must be painful to be killed by your own father. After that, he cackled and scoffed. Charles' lips mumbled, blood spreading in his eyes for a split second as great anger and hard feelings caused him to smash a large hole in the wall with his fist. At this moment, a continuous beep came from the cell phone. The front page headlines of all the major software started to push without listening. Shocked, this is the truth about the death of a little girl hit on the highway? There is no excuse for 100 words. Father listened to the slanderous words of others and committed a great sin that cannot be undone. A bright red message stimulated Charles' eyes, and he clicked in with trembling fingers to see exactly what the car recorder had recorded. I stood on the building across the street, scrutinizing every move, and I gave this video to the reporter to send at this point. As luck would have it, Charles watched the video and a huge sense of suffocation wrapped itself heavily around him as he gasped for air. Turns out, Emily really wasn't lying, she was wrongly accused. And he, who framed Emily's murderer, held her in his hands and cared for her for 10 years as if she were his own daughter. Cthulhu. Charles left tears of bitter chagrin. What did he miss? Obviously such a cute kid. Memories with Emily kept resurfacing in my mind. When new Emily was born, he changed diapers and made formula every day and every night, and his daughter ran to him with a waddling gait, learned her first word was daddy, and even bought him a gift as the first thing she did with the money she saved. Came to him like a little angel. It's not that he doesn't know this, but he selectively ignores it and disregards Emily. The child that cries gets candy, and since she's so well behaved anyway, it's not impossible to worry less. Charles didn't come to her senses until the last minute, pulling out the spare key Faith McDonald had once given her and snatching the door. Soon the screams of mother and daughter came from inside the house. Charles, you're crazy, hurry up and put the knife down. Let's talk about what we have to say. I apologize to you. I'm sorry. I really know I'm wrong, don't kill me. Michelle cried her eyes out as well, and even ended up peeing her pants when she couldn't hold it in. Mr. Buckland, aren't you Michelle's favorite? Charles bit through the skin of his lips and blood overflowed from his mouth, and with his sinewy face and scarlet eyes, he looked like a devil from hell. Ignoring Faith McDonald's pleas, he slashed down hard on Michelle's neck, splattering Faith McDonald with blood. Mommy, I'm in pain, help me. Faith McDonald's hand went to cover the wound, but couldn't stop the bleeding. My daughter is broken, and you will not live in one piece. Charles had completely killed his eyes at this moment and had no intention of stopping. The two soon tore in a piece, but the hands of the unarmed Faith McDonald, how can be the opponent of a 6'8" strong man, 3 times in 2 seconds was knocked down to the ground, and even the arm was broken, with a rope firmly fixed to the wall. It was at this time that Charles crushed Michelle Reed himself in front of him. Faith McDonald is twisting and crawling on the ground in agony, trying to stop it, but it's not helping at all. She was finally able to feel the pain I felt when I lost my child, so sad and powerless. Perhaps it was the potential within his body that was aroused. Faith MacDonald exploded into the greatest potential of her life, breaking free of the ropes Charles had bound her with, and using her whole body to knock him out of the way. The two men wrestled and wrestled, with Faith MacDonald pinned down on the ledge, half of her body exposed. Seizing the moment, she squeezed Charles' shoulder and they fell together. Boom, the dust settles. The police came quickly to deal with this vicious case, and I packed my bags, sold my house, and went out of town at the pleasure of my company. A suicide note written in blood was also left at the scene, telling of near confessions and thoughts. Charles asked me to take it to my daughter's grave and burn it when I die. The last words were, "Emily, Daddy loves you and avenged you with his own hands." I read it and sneered, casually tossing the suicide note into the trash and never looking back. The full text is complete. Today's story is over. Thank you all for listening.